What's going on, everybody, and I hope you're enjoying your Monday afternoon/evening. This is NYG Jeffy T85 here, and I just want to talk about a brief injury update on a couple of New York Giants that got banged up in the game yesterday against the Minnesota Vikings, as well as, some individual performances, PFF-wise, and some guys that put up some incredible stats during that game yesterday. First off, just a quick update from head coach Brian Daboll when he was at his press conference this afternoon on outside linebacker Azeez Ojulari and safety Jason Pinnock. Azeez Ojulari ended up leaving the game during the second half. He was dealing with another quad injury. This is the third time Azeez Ojulari is dealing with a quad injury right now. He got hurt previously at the end of training camp. He suffered a quad injury, then he re-aggravated it against the Bears. He ended up missing about 7 games during that stretch. Then he ended up suffering an ankle injury, which cost him another game of missing. So he missed about 8, 9, 10 games this season. He did come back in this game in the first half, but he suffered another quad injury. He is actually listed as day-to-day. He apparently was walking without a limp in this game, or after the game, in the locker room. So maybe that's a positive sign that he could be ready to go for this game on Saturday against the Eagles. And Jason Pinnock, who actually ended up getting carted off the field with an abdomen injury. He is also listed as day-to-day, which is remarkable to think, because when you saw him going down on that play, it looked like that he was going to be probably done for the rest of this regular playoffs. He actually is listed as day-to-day right now, which could mean that the Giants might get both these guys back and ready to go for this game on Saturday night against the Eagles, which would be absolutely remarkable if that ends up happening. So I just want to drop that real quickly in terms of the quick updates around Jason Pinnock and Azeez Ojulari. That both players are listed as day-to-day right now. Right now Ojulari dealing with an quad injury. He's day-to-day, and an abdomen injury for Jason Pinnock. He's also day-to-day. Now I'm going to talk about the PFF scores. I know some people don't take a whole lot of stock in PFF. Well, I'm going to talk about 4 players right now that were absolutely terrific. 3 of them, no surprise at all. And another one might actually be a little bit of a surprise. First off, Isaiah Hodgins. Isaiah Hodgins was the highest graded offensive player for the New York Giants. Not surprising when you go out there and catch 8 passes for 105 yards and a touchdown on 9 targets. He had an 81 grade overall. 81 grade. And that includes a 79.7 run blocking. He was terrific. He's well deserved of that grade up there. Absolutely fantastic. And the scary part is, Daniel Jones, the scary part about Isaiah Hodgins is this kid's got still more room to grow. He's already going to be on the team next year, and it's not even out of the fathom that this kid could be playing his way into a number 2 receiver role once we get our true number 1. Daniel Jones had also an incredibly good game. He graded at an 80.9 overall and a 76.7 rushing grade. Daniel Jones also was terrific in this game, and we could see why. 301 yards passing on 26 of 35 in the game. 78 yards rushing on 17 attempts. He also had 2 passing touchdowns in this game. This one just shows how dominant Andrew Thomas is. Andrew Thomas had 44 pass blocking snaps. Do you want to know how many pressures he gave up? 0. He had a 77.4 grade overall. 83.1 pass blocking grade. 83.1 pass blocking grade by Andrew Thomas. Dominant at the left tackle position. And he had a 68.6 run blocking grade, which is still pretty solid too. Saquon Barkley was also another player that got graded very highly. 77.3 overall in terms of the rushing. In terms of overall rushing. And he deserves it. I mean, he wasn't great. He wasn't like, fantastic. He had 9 rushes for 53 yards, but he also had 2 rushing touchdowns and ran with force on that football field. He also had a 70.3. He had a 70.3 rushing grade. They're grading him as a 17.2 pass blocking grade, which I don't get, but it is what it is. But Saquon Barkley was a terrific. And just like terms of the other graded guys, Mark Lewinsky was graded at a 73.1 overall grade. He had a 59.3 pass blocking grade, which isn't that great. But he had a 75.8 run blocking grade. Lewinsky helped out in the rushing game. He did. Now, a couple of the guys that graded a little bit lower, which I was a little bit surprised, they're grading Richie James at a 63.5. I'm a little bit shocked by that. I didn't think he was that bad in this game. And they also graded John Feliciano, who this team has actually been, we've been surprised this guy's been getting good grades out there. They graded him at a 62.8 overall grade with a 76.0 pass blocking grade, or run blocking grade, but a 56.9 overall pass blocking grade. That one's a little bit surprising to me. A little bit surprising for that one. In terms of Darius Slayton, I mean, unless that drop really hurt him, I mean, he had 4 catches for 88 yards on 8 targets. So he did miss a couple of passes, including that devastating one over the middle of the field where he dropped it right in his hands. He had overall a 57.4 grade with a 59.2 run blocking. He's not known as a run blocking wide receiver. That's the truth. And in terms of if he was an outside pass blocker, 51.4. That's not his game. That's not his game. Darius Slayton had a pedestrian game overall. Ben Bredeson, I'm a little bit surprised, had a very poor game, PFF-wise. 55.7 overall grade. 49.2 in terms of run blocking, and 57.3 pass blocking. I thought he was better than that. That's the one where I get a little bit confused in terms of PFF grades, and they actually graded Evan Neal as the lowest offensive graded player for the Giants on offense with a 35.5 grade. 35.5. I did not think he was that bad. I didn't. They graded him with an 18.1 pass blocking grade. 18.1. I didn't think he was that bad as a pass blocking tackle. And they graded him 56.3 run blocking. I thought his run blocking was better. I did not think his pass blocking was this horrendous. I didn't. But, I mean, the thing that really gets me excited is that the first 3 players on this team, who are all cornerstone players, first 3 out of the first 4, and you can throw Hodgins in there too, but Andrew Thomas is so goddamn good at left tackle. This guy is so good on the offensive side. It's amazing. Now getting over to the defensive side of the field. In terms of the highest people that were graded on the defensive side of the field, it all starts out with Cordell Flott, who did have limited snaps out there. He played about 8 snaps in this game, so take it while it's worth. But he had an 88.6 defensive grade overall, which led the Giants. He had a 60 run defensive grade in terms of his run defense, so that's pretty damn good, even though he had limited snaps, with an 82.3 coverage grade. Probably a lot of it has to do with that big stop he had on 3rd down and long on that knockaway in front of KJ Osborne that would have given the Vikings a big first down. So the limited snaps that Flott out there, he played well. Ojulari, before he went down with an injury, he had a 79.5 defensive grade with a 70.5 tackling grade. So when he was out there, he was making the tackles on the football field. He had a 61.7 pass rushing grade and a 72.1 coverage grade. So when Ojulari was on the field, he did a pretty decent job. It's just the problem is the guy wasn't on the field long enough. Dane Belton, same thing as Cordell Flott. He was listed 3rd on the list, 76.1 grade overall on the defensive side, 60 in the run defense. He had a 75 tackling percentage and a 72.8 coverage. Dane Belton is becoming a guy that's getting a little bit more of that experience playing behind 2 veterans in Julian Love and Xavier McKinney, who are both very good. So it's only going to help out Dane Belton, depending on what happens in this offseason. If Julian Love leaves as a free agent, or maybe if they decide to trade Xavier McKinney. We'll have to wait and see. Dexter Lawrence, who's just as well been an absolute monster on that defensive side of the field. Another phenomenal job by Dexter Lawrence, who had 6 tackles, 4 pressures, quarterback hits, and 1 tackle for loss. Dexter Lawrence is having another terrific season for the Giants defense. He graded out with a 74.8 defensive grade, along with a 70.4 run defensive grade, a 71.1 tackling grade, and an astonishing 86 pass rush grade for a defensive tackle, the best one on the Giants team. Absolutely phenomenal job by Dexter Lawrence. And this guy has just been a monster in the middle of this defense. After that, Adoree Jackson, his first game back, he had himself a 70.9 overall grade on the defense. Obviously, him bracketing Justin Jefferson for the most part. He had a 62.8 overall run defensive grade. I thought he did a pretty solid job in terms of his open field tackling on some of these plays. He had a 71.1 overall tackling grade on this field. I think he was one of the better tacklers in the open field. When the Giants were out there, he made some very good plays in terms of the run defense for this team. And also, Adoree Jackson also had a 70.9 coverage grade. That is well deserved. Well deserved. Adoree Jackson was sorely missed on this defensive end. For the most part, the defensive backs actually pretty much graded very well. Julian Love wasn't really talked as much about, but he had a good grade as well. 69.6 defensive grade, 60.3 run defensive grade, 81.9 tackling grade. Would not be surprised. Would not expect anything else from Julian Love in terms of tackling. He's a terrific open field tackler. A 59.1 pass rush. He's not really a pass rusher. He's more of a deep safety, although he could play in the box. And a 68.1 coverage. Typical Julian Love numbers. He's a very good safety. Very good safety. Get to some of these other guys real quickly. Xavier McKinney in his first full game back. Remember, he played only half that game against the Colts. First full game back, 69.1 overall grade. 83.6 tackling grade. This is becoming a common theme. These players in the secondary all graded very well tackling. He had a 64.2 run defensive grade overall. He had a 59.1 pass rush grade, so exactly identical to Julian Love, and he had a 66.8 coverage grade. McKinney's a dog on this defensive end, including he did have that one missed play against TJ Hawkinson on 4th and 2 in the fourth quarter, but he made up for it on that big open field tackle, which helped out his grade overall on Hawkinson, which pretty much put the game away. I want to also get to an underrated player on this team, Darnay Holmes. Well, I thought Darnay Holmes actually played one of his better games. He graded at 61.4 overall. On the defensive side, he had a 60 grade overall in his run defense. He had an 82.8 tackling grade, which is well deserved because he had 2 monster tackles for loss on this defensive side when they were trying to get the ball out to Dalvin Cook. Darnay Holmes made 2 terrific plays in terms of his run defense, and he had overall 61 coverage grade, which actually might be one of his better coverage grades because Darnay Holmes was getting burned a lot in terms of his coverage overall with the Giants. So now, in terms of some of the lower graded players on this team, Landon Collins, I guess, had one of his more poor games. He graded out with a 52 grade overall. He had a 60.4 overall run defensive grade. He had a 72.5 tackling grade, which is common theme with the Giants in terms of tackling. He had a 51.7 overall grade in terms of his pass coverage. Landon Collins didn't play as much of a big role like he did the previous 2 games, but hey, you know, he's really more of a box safety / linebacker. Jalen Smith, he had a 57.2 overall grade defensively, 63.9 run blocking grade, defensive grade, run pass defense. He had a 79.9 tackling grade. Giants actually, I thought, did a very good job tackling for the most part. Not a lot of plays were broken off in this game from anybody on this team. And a 53.2 coverage. Giants' biggest problem is the coverage in the linebacking cores. And in terms of the worst players on the defensive side, the most notable one is probably Jared Davis, the player that took over for Michael McFadden in the middle of the defense, he really did not have a good game at all, grading-wise. He had a 44.2 overall defensive grade in terms of the in terms of the overall defense, a 70.3 run defense. He had a 74.9 tackling grade. He had a 69.6 pass rush grade. So he actually graded pretty well on those first few grades, but what really sent him down in terms of his overall grade was his pass defense, which is horrendous, because he was pretty much the guy that was in charge of taking care of TJ Hawkinson, and Hawkinson pretty much ate him for lunch. Hawkinson had over 138 yards, including another touchdown, so he pretty much got eaten for lunch. So, I mean, Dexter Lawrence was absolutely incredible. And I made this point earlier when I jumped on my guy, Big Pat Sports Talk, and GiantsNation Inside Sports. Make sure you guys go sub up to them already. They were doing their Giants Full Access. Two players that absolutely need to be thought about signing long-term immediately after the season and become cornerstone players is Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas. And once again, both those guys showed their pure dominance. Andrew Thomas, 44 snaps on the field, not even one single pressure on his side of the field against Danielle Hunter, while Evan Neal on the other side struggled a lot during that game. Andrew Thomas has been dominant. And then you want to talk about Dexter Lawrence on the defensive side. Fourth highest graded defensive player. He finished with 4 quarterback hits with 6 tackles and a tackle for loss on 7 total pressures. So, I mean, it's great to see some of these guys doing a good job out there open field tackling. Really is. So, I mean, shout out to the Giants. They absolutely deserve a lot of the kudos that they are getting right now. So I just wanted to throw that out there in this video. I have never really done a PFF grades or anything like that. That's actually usually up. My guy, BigBlue in the Bronx, a.k.a. Alex, he usually is the one that throws out some of these PFF grades, so shout out to him. I just wanted to give it a little stab at it, see what it's like, because I want to see the insides and outs on who actually really graded very well in terms of their overall performance. So shout out to those guys for the way they played. So if you guys like this video, hit the like button below. Sub up if you haven't already to NYGJeffyT85 for more breaking news, updates, and chatter surrounding the New York Giants. Turn on the bell for notifications the next video or short dropping on the channel surrounding the New York Giants. And you guys let me know in the comment section what you think about the injury updates from head coach Brian Daboll on outside linebacker Azeez Ojulari and safety Jason Pinnock, as well as the PFF grades on the offensive and defensive side of the New York Giants field. Who impressed, who didn't impress, etc. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Take it easy. Got a little bit ahead of myself. Take it easy. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. And let's go New York Football Giants. Together Blue, everyone.